Hello, Sanford. You are listening to Sanford Sports Radio. My name is Jonathan West, and welcome to the Howler. As it is another week, another MAC conference game, as the Sanford Coyotes have won their first one against the Buffalo Bulls last week, and without their number one receiver and freshman Josh Williams. So it's on to another matchup against Eastern Michigan this week. But first, let's talk about some recruiting, as John Scott had a great visit last week. It was actually a really good visit from him. I actually got to talk to him a bit. Seems he's cleaned up a bit from what I've noticed. Samuel Wyatt, the guard from Louisiana, he visited last week. And things are going well with him from the sounds of things, but Arkansas is still an issue. He still is highly looking at Arkansas, so keep that one in mind. Steven Supersonic Sullivan, the young receiver out of Canada, he is pretty much dead set on Sanford from what it seems. Now, I don't know if that means a recruit's coming this week, next week, whenever. But at this point, it seems it's a surefire recruitment, a surefire commit coming to Sanford in the near future. Steve Little, the outside linebacker, it's a two-man race. It's Ohio and Sanford. It could go either way right now. He still has a visit to Ohio, so there is a tough test for Sanford at this point. Dylan Crosby, the defensive tackle out of Vancouver, he'll be visiting next week, as Sanford will be headed on the road this week. So the NIU game next week is going to be seeing some people coming in, and that game's always a fun one to watch. So those folks coming in for that one, hopefully those recruits are ready for a fun rivalry game. We know how those ones always turn out. But Crosby still seems to have Sanford on top of his board. Tyrone Justice, the strong safety of Louisiana, he's starting to come around from what I'm hearing to Sanford. Originally, he wasn't too high on the Coyotes, but now he's starting to turn a corner, taking a much stronger look at Sanford now. Xavier Payne, well, he is pretty much a surefire thing with his brother already committing. It seems to be a surefire situation right now that Xavier will be here at some point. The tight end Nick Brown, he visited last week as well. He had a very good visit. I actually got to talk to him as well. He's a big target this year with Duran Costello graduating at the end of the year. Lorenzo Newman, yes, is a very good tight end, but they want a guy like Nick Brown on this roster. He can pretty much step right in and take over for Duran Costello. They really like Nick Brown. So Brown is a necessity, as Grant Fink, the quarterback out of Calgary, is also a guy that seems to be still high on the board. He apparently is going to be coming in next week from what I'm hearing. I don't know if that's a certified thing or not. I wasn't sure about this one. I knew about Crosby coming in. I wasn't sure Fink would be coming in for next week's ball game against NIU. But from what I've heard, it sounds like he'll be coming in. I'm not sure. Along with Fink is going to be running back Chad Collins. Collins, of course, the bulldozer back, if you were to say anything. He's much more of a kind of run him over type of back than anybody we've got on the roster right now. He would be more of a steamroller type than even Claude Fleming right now. But he'll be coming in next week as well, so a lot of visits scheduled up for next week's matchup. Now let's talk about players of the week, because Dustin Jordan impressed enough to get Defensive Player of the Week with his 2-interception ball game against Buffalo. On the offensive side of things, it was Drew Plitt, the quarterback for Ball State. He got the Offensive Player of the Week with his performance against the Zips. Now with one game under their belt in MAC play, Sanford is back on top of the MAC standings. They're 4-1 overall with one win in conference play. Really, the East is a very jumbled area right now. It's Sanford and Ohio really ruling it right now. Miami not having as big of a year as they had last year, and a couple of other teams really aren't being put into the race right now. So it's really Sanford and Ohio fighting it out for the East. This week's matchups, you got Sanford headed to Eastern Michigan. You've got Akron headed to Western Michigan. Northern Illinois is headed to Central Michigan, so all the Michigans are having home games. Buffalo heads to Ball State. Miami of Ohio is going to head to Bowling Green in what should be a really fun matchup. And then Ohio's got Kent State, which in my opinion could be a trap game for those Bobcats. Now let's talk about Sanford's game, though, as Kirk Herbstreit does have the Coyotes taking out the Eagles. We'll see how that works out. But I'll agree with them. Certainly here, on paper, it is a Coyote victory, or at least it should be. But we saw last year, Eastern Michigan's a tough team. They have a young quarterback that we went over last year, John Mason. He is a good quarterback. He is a good young quarterback that this team can grow around. So they are going to have to keep an eye on him. He may be young still, but you got to watch out because the more he learns, the better he's going to get. So even with only 1 year under his belt and now coming into this year, I still wouldn't entirely expect for them to just dominate. Mason has not done very well so far, though. Only 4 touchdowns to 11 interceptions, for they have not had the most healthy of schedule. They do have a big running back we'll talk a little more about in Richie Worship. We'll talk a bit more about him a little later. Of course, the key component to keep in mind with Sanford is still no Josh Williams. He will be missing out on this week and the next 2, as Duran Costello will pretty much be the go-to guy, I would assume, for Sanford without Williams there. Now let's talk about quarterback John Mason, the sophomore. He didn't have a great year last year. It wasn't a huge breakout year, and he hasn't had the best start to this season. But as I stated, he's a young guy. He's got time to grow, and if he gets time, he's going to become a very solid quarterback. So you can't really just put down your guard with him. But their big power on offense is Richie Worship. This running back is going to be the facilitator of the offense. This is going to be, I think, where most of the offense is going to go, and I would at least expect that, and keep the ball out of the hands of the Sanford offense, which has been fairly deadly this year. On the defensive side of things, you got Corey Davis, the senior end. He's a pretty solid player. This defense for Eastern Michigan is nothing to scoff at. This is a very talented player here in Davis, and they also have some other talented defensive players that this Sanford offense is going to have to keep their eyes on. But Davis is just one of many, as they've got Odie Granger, the defensive tackle. Sadly, he will not be playing. He is injured this week. So that is one risk now, one dominant defender that this offense doesn't have to worry about, and this offensive line doesn't have to worry about blocking. Granger is arguably their biggest pass rusher when coming through the middle. So that's a good thing. We don't have to deal with that. Jalen Phelps, though, will be playing, one of their top players on defense at cornerback. He is going to be on Rob Thomas all day long. And this is a guy I think that can shut down Rob Thomas. Thomas is a good player, but Phelps has a lot of speed to him, and he can play man or zone. So you got to watch out for Jalen Phelps. That's all the time, though, that we've got for this week's edition of The Howler. Thank you, folks, for joining us. You've been listening to Sanford Sports Radio. I am Jonathan West, and we will see you this weekend as the Sanford Coyotes head off to face the Eagles of Eastern Michigan. Hello, Sanford. You are listening to Sanford Sports Radio, and it is game day here in Michigan. We're here at Rynearson Stadium, and the Eastern Michigan Eagles are ready to host the Sanford College Coyotes. These Coyotes, though, are riding high as they're coming off a huge victory over the Buffalo Bulls in the first MAC game of the year, and without their top target in Josh Williams. So Sanford's going to be, once again, without Josh Williams for another couple weeks, and they are ready to showcase that this team can win and win well without that true freshman who has been such a useful weapon on this offense. They are 4-1 overall. They shocked the world early on this year by defeating Auburn. We'll see if they can keep the wins coming, as they're now riding a 3-game win streak. And this is going to be the big matchup, I'd say, of the day in the MAC, because these Eagles, once again, I'll say it again, nothing to take lightly. You can't be taking any of your conference foes lightly around here, as we are underway. Pat Jackson, the man to return, and no, Arthur Clancy's going to take this one. Clancy will not be playing on the outside today. They're allowing him to mainly focus on returning duties. As out will come Claude Fleming, who had a huge day last week, over 151 on the ground. As Sanford will begin with an option here to Tanner Patrick. And as I was stating earlier, Clancy will be worrying about the returning duties more than receiving, as Tremaine Dingle has been moved to the outside, putting Patrick Jackson into the slot. They want more speed now out on this offense. There's a 10-yard run there from Antoine Bradford's going to give him a new set of downs. It's 1st and 10 now, as Patrick going to the screen for Fleming. And he powers through one would-be defender. That's going to be a 7-yard gain on that catch and run. So it's a solid start to this drive thanks to that screen. Let's see if they can keep this going. Patrick's going to drop back, hits the middle of the field. That is Duron Costello, 21 yards, deep down into Eagles territory now. This is exactly what Sanford wants to get going quick. They want this momentum, whether it be passing the football or running it. They want to find success early, and it's working out. 1st and 10, handoff goes to Fleming, and he's fighting through everyone just about. He slipped through one would-be tackle, as that's a 5-yard gain on his first carry of the day. 2nd and 5, they go the end around to Tremaine Dingle, and that's going to be a gain of 4. Dingle couldn't find a lot of room, but he found enough to make it an extremely manageable 3rd and 1. Handoff goes to Bradford on the 3rd down, and that's going to be an easy 1st down, as though Bradford looks like he may be shaken up. 1st and 10 as play action here. Patrick goes back to Fleming, as that's going to be a 6-yard gain. Not risking anything, going for a big play. That's a smart throw by Patrick, as we have gotten word that Bradford will be out for a small amount of time. His return is probable, though. As a 7-yard gain there for Rob Thomas, as he's able to keep his footing in bounds. 1st and goal now as the handoff. No, it's an option, and down goes Patrick. He didn't read that one correctly, as Corey Davis, we touched on him in the Howler earlier this week. He was just waiting. Patrick's got to have his eyes dead set on that end. He's got to know where they're going. Patrick rolling out here, connecting with Jennings, but off the hands. Jennings had it, but it just bounces right off his hands. 3rd and goal now, as Patrick trying to roll out to extend the play, but he can't get that to his intended target. He'll fall incomplete, luckily, and Sanford will settle for a Jackson Stone field goal. So that is going to be good, as Stone has only missed one in his career. As John Mason and company now for Eastern Michigan out on offenses. That's a big 15-yard reception for John Turner to begin things. The no-huddle starts here for the Eagles. As 1st and 10 play action. Mason looks to throw, and he hits Turner on the comeback. That is a 12-yard reception, as John Turner's already the favorite target. 1st and 10 as Mason looks to throw. He'll throw on the run, hits his man Mike Jordan, but that is going to be no gain on that one. Back to the line's all he could get. 2nd and 10 now as Mason looks to throw again. He goes to Richie Worship. Here comes the running back as he fights through not one but two defenders, and that's going to be a 10-yard reception. They'll give him the first down as now Eastern Michigan's drive continues. 1st and 10 following that no huddle as they hand off to Worship, but he is bottled up. Only a gain of 1. He had to fight for that 1 yard. 2nd and 9 as the handoff goes back to Worship. He'll only gain 3 this time. This defense really sniffing out just about anything that Eastern Michigan wants to bring to him. 3rd and 6 is Mason. Looking for his man. He'll check down to the flats as he's brought down. That's Lewis McMahon. Beck Turner couldn't get much as they'll have to settle now for a field goal. The kick is up. And it is no good. It is short of the goalpost. That is going to mean that it's going to be Sanford football with some great field position. 1st and 10 as Lorenzo Newman was the man in motion for Sanford. Patrick going deep, and that's Deron Costello at the sideline, but he couldn't hang on. 2nd and 10 as Claude Fleming gets the handoff, and he's bottled up immediately. Nowhere to go for Fleming. Reggie Joseph all over him. 3rd and 10. As Patrick looks to throw here, he'll set up another screen for Fleming. Fights through one tackler, and that'll be enough for the first. Gets right past the marker. Great play by Fleming. As this will be the final play of the first quarter. Tyrone Jennings avoiding getting his head taken off there, as he's able to gain 4 yards on that carry, as that will take us to the end of the first. 3-0 early here as Sanford's up over the Eastern Michigan Eagles as they try to now get in the end zone here. We've got more coming up after this. You're listening to Sanford Sports Radio. Welcome back, everyone, to the Sanford Sports Radio. It is the start of the second quarter of plays. Tremaine Dingle, look at him run! Dingle off to the races, and we've got some errors here on my end at least. From a visual perspective, it seems like the feed has ended, as I believe, yes indeed, it seems Dingle has gotten into the end zone. So nonetheless, it is a Tremaine Dingle touchdown. As Jackson Stone kicks us away here after the Dingle touchdown. Sadly, we couldn't get a good look at that as Turner's got room to run. As Beck Turner all the way up to midfield with that. Well, a huge return there for Eastern Michigan. As 1st and 10 now here at midfield. Mason on the run, though. He gets pushed back, and he's going to get brought down by, I believe, yes, indeed, Lewis McMahon. McMahon been given that slot position back to see how he plays against Eastern Michigan. They are still trying to figure out that slot corner spot. 2nd and 12 now after Mason loses 2 on that option scramble. Isaac Holder gets this reception. It's an 18-yard reception and a big first down for Eastern Michigan. They're seeing a drive get put together here. As 1st and 10 towards the sideline. That one nearly taken away by Otis Griffin. As there is a flag for illegal touching, as Mike Jordan was the first man to touch the football, and he stepped out of bounds initially. 2nd and 15 after the illegal touching penalty. Mason looks to throw. Pressure was coming in as he tosses it away. 3rd and 15 coming up now. Shotgun formation for Eastern Michigan. Mason takes the snap. He's moving around in the pocket, going deep, and it's nearly taken away as Pat Riley was on coverage. It's 1st and 10 now as Sanford takes over on offense after the punt from Eastern Michigan. Claude Fleming can only gain 6 yards there, but a nice 6-yard gain nonetheless. It'll make it a manageable 2nd and 4. As it's play action here, Patrick on the run. He'll check down to Joey Spencer, the relief fullback, if you will. That'll be a loss of 3 as Spencer not as trusty of a fullback as Antoine Bradford, to say the least. 3rd and 7 now as Patrick looks to throw. Over the middle, connects with Rob Thomas on the slant. He stays on his feet, and a big first down, 18 yards for Robert Thomas. That is a huge play, and the fact that he was able to stay on his feet after getting attacked by like 3 different Eagles. Very impressive toughness there by Rob Thomas. As first down, the handoff goes to Fleming. He'll gain 5 on that one, not going very far there, but nonetheless a solid gain. As that'll bring up 2nd and 5, they'll go right back to Claude Fleming on the ground, as he'll pick up 4 on this carry. He's not seeing the big running lanes we're used to seeing for him today. 3rd and 1 is Newman, once again the man in motion, as Jennings has the room to run. Look at all that space. What a big run there. As Tyrone Jennings with a huge run. I was expecting a flag. When you see a run like that, you never automatically expect it to work out. Think there's going to be a flag or something. Luckily, no laundry on the field. As Patrick will play action here on first down. Throwing on the run, connects with Patrick Jackson. And we get to see that touchdown. That is a 14-yard strike to Patrick Jackson to the end zone. Touchdown Sanford, as they are taking a 3-possession lead. It's a huge situation here now for Sanford, as it's about to be 17-0. We'll take you to the first update of the day, as Bowling Green is victorious over Miami of Ohio, 28-23. Duke was also victorious, shocking number 22 Virginia Tech, 13-9. That was an interesting one to hear. As we got a flag here, Eastern Michigan getting a little antsy. The offensive line jumping jumping and getting a false start. First and 15 now with about 3:30 left to go in the half. John Mason on the run. He's got room, and that's going to be a first down. He's finally brought down by Keon Cutler. 17-yard run. First and 10. As Mason takes the snap, he looks to throw, connects with Turner. As that's John Turner, once again a 13-yard reception and enough for the first. As they continue the no huddle, Mason looks to throw. He was a little caught up there. He tripped a bit in the pocket, able to compose himself and threw it. But that one falls incomplete off the hands of his intended target. 2nd and 10 now as Mason just going to throw this one away. Didn't like the coverage by Sanford. This defense really giving it to him from the looks of things. 3rd and 10 as Mason looks to throw. Checks down to Worship over the middle, but he won't go anywhere as Otis Griffin was on top of it. A 3-yard gain is it. Sanford taking back over with 2:30 remaining. It's a loss of 2 here for Fleming on the first carry of this drive. Corey Davis once again causing some issues here from his right end spot. 2nd and 12. They'll go to the option here now for Patrick, but he's bottled up fairly quickly. It will be a gain of 6, though, making it a much more manageable 3rd down. 3rd and 6 after the Eastern Michigan timeout. Fleming finding some running room finally, and that's what we want to see. A 14-yard run from Fleming around that right side. 1st and 10 with a minute and a half remaining. There's Deron Costello, as that is Tanner Patrick just hooking up with his favorite target once again. A 22-yard connection, as Costello was just going straight down the field on a streak pattern, and with nobody really that close to him, Patrick able to hit him well in stride. As 1st and 10 handoff goes to Jennings for only a gain of 1. That'll bring up 2nd and 9 as they're going to play action. Patrick connects with Jackson. Conveniently, Patrick Jackson as that's going to be a first down, and Sanford back in the red zone. First and 10 in the I formation. Tanner Patrick going play action again, but the pressure got there quick. As that was some quick pressure applied by Keon Lynch from the safety spot. Second and 18 now, as Patrick going to drop back. Throwing, and that was to double coverage. That was a poor throw on Patrick's part. Sumter was ready for that one. Sumter was sitting there and was expecting that ball. That was a poor throw on Patrick's part. We haven't seen many of those types of throws this year, but that's just reverting back to what we don't need to see. 25 seconds left here as Mason just goes down. That's Scott Boyd picking up a sack. As Boyd's been showcasing some solid play this season. He's really just a lot of people are looking at him as kind of a just placeholder until Shea Faraday plays next season. As 17-0 is the score. We'll be going into half with Sanford on top. You're listening to Sanford Sports Radio. Your second half coming up right after this. Welcome back, everyone, to the second half of play. It is the Sanford Coyotes against Eastern Michigan here on the Sanford Sports Radio. It's a handoff to Richie Worship for Eastern Michigan to start things here in the second half. As Mason to throw from this no huddle. It's a 5-yard reception to Edmund Bryant. That's going to set him up in 2nd and 5 as the no huddle continues. Shotgun formation is Mason. Looks to throw, checks down to Bryant again. He's brought down. That's Dylan Trevor on the tackle. It will be a gain of 3 though, so it makes it an even more manageable 3rd and 2. As Mason still in the shotgun with the no huddle. He'll go option and fights through. I believe that was Lewis McMahon. And that is a huge 24-yard gain for Eastern Michigan. As Mason may have just gotten a lot of momentum for this offense. They continue the no huddle here. Man in motion is the tight end as Mason takes the snap. Pressure coming in though as Otis Griffin just gets to him. That's going to be a loss of 8 after that sack as no one decided to block Otis Griffin and he came right through. Second and 18 here now as John Mason in the shotgun. He'll take the snap. He's going deep, and that one's batted away by Dustin Jordan, nearly intercepted by Sam Moore. Some nice teamwork there by these Sanford corners. 3rd and 18 as Mason looks to throw. And that one's taken away. Flash Gibson on the pick. That's exactly what you want to see. Gibson's been fairly quiet in the interception game. That is his first on the season. A very nice one at that. As 1st and 10 handoff goes to Claude Fleming. He'll gain 9 yards on this run. Still once again a very slow day for Claude Fleming. 2nd and 1 as Antoine Bradford has gotten back into the ballgame, folks. As Fleming's got room, but there is some laundry on the field. There was a flag thrown, and this one's coming back a bit as it'll be a clipping penalty on Evan Adams, the offensive lineman. 2nd and 13 now after the clipping penalty. The pitch goes out to Tyrone Jennings, and Jennings is just bottled up. That's going to be a loss of 4. As it wasn't the worst idea to pitch, and it was actually a smart idea by Patrick to pitch, but just Jennings got so bottled up there. As 3rd and 16, Patrick rolling out, extending the play. I believe he wanted Tremaine Dingle to continue to run there. Dingle decided not to. He threw it nonetheless, and it just didn't work out. As Turner on the run here. He's up past midfield about the 43-yard line. A 17-yard return and a solid start here for Eastern Michigan now. First and 10 is Richie Worship on the ground, and he'll take it up for a gain of 9. Second and 1 as the no huddle begins again here. Man in motion once again, the tight end. As Mason just going to let Worship do his thing, and it's going to work out as he runs right into the red zone with a 21-yard rush. First and 10 here as the no huddle continues. Shotgun formation for Mason, and he'll take the option now as he's not going to get as much as Worship. That is a gain of 3. Mason finally caught up to there at least as he continues this no huddle. Second and 7. Mike Jordan gets the fake. There's the pitch, goes to Worship, and he's going to be into the end zone. The first score of the day for Eastern Michigan comes in the way of a touchdown. So it's 17-6, pending the extra point, of course, to make it 7. So it's just become a 2-possession ball game. As we do have another update for you folks, Oklahoma, the number 1 team in the nation, has defeated Kansas in a close one, 48-35, and that has delivered Kansas their first loss of the year. So Kansas certainly going to drop in the polls now, as that is a big kick there to Arthur Clancy, as he's going to have a chance to return this one. And he's got some room after some nice blocks past the 40-45, out at around the 47. A great return by Clancy, as Sanford's got great opening field position. Patrick got held up a bit there on the option. That's going to be a loss of 2, though, for Vincent Calhoun. As Tanner Patrick just couldn't find an open lane to run through. Second and 12, handoff goes to Fleming. He's got room, got tripped up a bit though. That's going to be an 8-yard gain as he was tripped up. Nonetheless, 3rd and 3 coming up. As it is, once again, the pistol formation for Sanford. Antoine Bradford gets the swing out his way as it's going to be a gain of 2. He will be short of the marker, but look at this. Jean-Paul Valley throwing the punter with the fake punt. It's off the hands of Lewis McMahon and falls incomplete. Valley does have a decent arm on him, and that one just couldn't get hauled in by McMahon. As 1st and 10 now for Eastern Michigan after the Sanford trickery. It's Richie Worship on the carry. That'll be an 8-yard gain as this no huddle continues. The no huddle has taken its toll, that's for sure, on the Sanford defense today as the pitch goes to Mike Jordan. He's got running room as that's going to be a first down and plenty more. But this no huddle has taken its toll on Sanford plenty today. The defense, you can see them starting to slow down. They haven't been as quick as they've been earlier in the game, as that's John Turner with a 20-yard reception. As 1st and 10 here. Man in motion is Bryant, as Mason takes the snap again with the option, and that's going to be an 11-yard run. First down, and they are inside the 10, nearly inside the 5. First and goal, Mason taking off. He gets slowed down a bit, but bottled up at around the 3-yard line. That's going to be a gain of 4. They're about at the 3, maybe the 2.5. Second and goal. We continue this no huddle as Mason looks to throw to the end zone. Wide open is Edmund Bryant, and that's going to be a 2-yard touchdown strike. Folks, it's a 3-point ball game now. Sanford's offense just hasn't been able to get it going, and they need to find a way to spark this really quickly. As Tanner Patrick taking off on the option, he can't find much room, only a gain of 4. As 2nd and 6 here now in the full house formation. The handoff goes to Tyrone Jennings. Good blocks up front. One was Claude Fleming himself. As the 2015 10-5 touchdown, Sanford, 77 yards, goes Tyrone Jennings. As this just became a two-possession game again, but great blocking. Tremaine Dingle with a nice block up front, and a great block by Claude Fleming that really sent Tyrone Jennings all the way to the house. As Mason looks to throw here, the last play of the third quarter goes down as a sack by Lewis McMahon. As that will bring us to the end of the third. It's 24-14. Still a tight one here in Eastern Michigan. As the fourth quarter coming up in just a bit. You're listening to Sanford Sports Radio. We'll be back after this. Welcome back, everyone, to Sanford Sports Radio. It is the final quarter of play. 14-24, Sanford on top. As Mason just throws that one away, just gets it out of his hands. 3rd and 16 here is Mason in the shotgun. He'll hand off to Richie Worship, but Worship is bottled up. That's a strong tackle there by McMahon. 1st and 10 here in solid field position is Sanford following the Eastern Michigan punt. That's going to be a solid carry there, or a strong start of 3 yards by Tyrone Jennings. It's Patrick over the middle. He connects with Keon Lynch. And wait a minute. I think the ball came out. Lynch. Sanford's got it. What in the world happened here? They're showing a replay. Keon Lynch got the pick, but it was pulled out by Evan Adams, the guard for Sanford. Well, it's Sanford football, folks, and we're right about where this drive started. As Claude Fleming is going to take a 3-yard gain here. So what started as something bad, an interception, just turned into almost a redo situation here for Sanford as the handoff goes to Tyrone Jennings on 2nd down. That'll be a gain of 10. Enough for the 1st down. He's had a big day with that 77-yarder. Hand off to Bradford here, as that's going to be a gain of 3. A lot of 3-yard runs here on this drive. 2nd and 7 is Fleming trying to find some more running room, but he is bottled up real quick. That'll be about half a yard, maybe 1 yard if they want to give it to him. 3rd and 7 is Sanford's using that play clock now to their advantage. As Fleming over the middle, though, with a nice reception. That's an 11-yard gain and enough for the first. 1st and 10, Lorenzo Newman in motion. Jennings with the carry. He's got room around that right side. That's going to be a gain of 7. As he's nearing 140 on the day here. 2nd and 3. They're keeping Jennings in the ballgame, keeping the hot hand going. But he's going to lose a yard there. Kevin Collins on that tackle. 3rd and 3. Patrick looking to throw. He hits Tremaine Dingle, and that's going to be a big 1st down here. That might really be kind of the game ender for the most part here, as we're under 3 minutes left to go in this ballgame. Tyrone Jennings with the handoff here on 1st down. That'll be a loss of 1 as Sanford now in 2nd and goal. They're using that play clock as the handoff goes to Fleming. He tried to spin, but it didn't work out. That'll make it 3rd and goal now. As they're in the pistol, Sanford play action. Patrick on the rollout here. He's looking to take off now. And he'll be out of bounds after an 8-yard gain. Another timeout by Eastern Michigan. The offense, though, still on the field. Play action here for Sanford, but it doesn't work, as that'll be a sack on Tanner Patrick, and it'll be a turnover on downs for Sanford. They took a chance and just decided to not go with the points. It is still a 2-possession ball game. As the check down goes to Richie Worship. That'll be a 7-yard gain for Eastern Michigan. The no huddle going to be a big contributor now as John Mason just spikes it. Stop the clock. It's 3rd and 3. Mason setting up a screen. Richie Worship has room, and he's got first down and more. That's a 16-yard gain. That'll bring up more no huddle here. As Mason looks to throw. He goes down though. Big Joe Irvin. He's going to grab another sack on the year. Mason once again spiking it. As that'll stop it at 1:19. 3rd and 17. Mason in the shotgun. He'll take the snap. And down he goes. Scott Boyd on the sack. Boyd with his 2nd of the day. Scott Boyd hasn't been a big flashy player at all, but man, is he making plays when you need him. Has a nice play by Boyd there for a good spin to get to John Mason pretty quick. 4th and 24. Mason needs to connect here, but he goes down. Nate Jen collects a sack. That is 3 sacks on that drive. And that will be a turnover on downs, and this ball game is over. As the Sanford Coyotes collect their 2nd MAC Conference victory. Big day for Tyrone Jennings, 10 carries, 132 and a touchdown. Of course, the 77-yarder, a big contributor to that stat line. But nonetheless, another victory for Sanford. They may not be putting up the most points or winning in the most dominant of fashion. But hey, they're coming out on top, and that's all that really matters. Your final here from Eastern Michigan, 24-14 Sanford over the Eagles, as the Coyotes now will look to what really a lot of people have considered rivalry week here within the conference next week as they go back home to face the Northern Illinois Huskies. These Coyotes have a problem with Huskies, as of course the UConn Huskies and NIU really being kind of the rivals here for this program. But it will be another tough one, I'm sure, next week, as it's the rivalry game everyone loves to watch. Once again, your final here from Eastern Michigan, 24-14 Sanford, your victors. We will see you folks next week here on the Sanford Sports Radio. I'm Jonathan West. We will see you next week.